Well, there's still 3.5 months or so, a little bit more than that, until the first round of voting in the Iowa caucuses. So theoretically, DeSantis or any of the other candidates do have some time to turn it around. The problem he faces, though, is donors may not want to contribute to his campaign. Who wants to give to a loser, after all? And they may see some of these other candidates rising, like Chris Christie, the former New Jersey governor, is, according to one or two polls, up to second or third place in New Hampshire. Vivek Ramaswamy is rising. Some of the other ones, too, maybe Nikki Haley. So they may be getting a second look before Ron DeSantis does.
Welcome to the Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Bedford, and I'm here today with magazine editor David Mark. And David, polls are showing that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is not thriving in the Republican primary. He's sort of been dropping relatively steadily since he entered the race. What's going on there?
Yeah, this has been a long, slow decline, now a more rapid decline for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who had been seen for much of this race as the key alternative to Donald Trump, the former president, trying to make a comeback. For whatever reasons, DeSantis just has not connected with audiences, prospective voters in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, other such places. Some say it's his personality. Others say that he's just running on his legislative record in Florida, which is plenty conservative, MAGA-esque, you might say. But he doesn't really have the personality chops that somebody like Trump does. I think that's really important in trying to discover what Republican voters are actually looking for.
Do you think that he has time to turn it around, or is the sort of bubble pierced and now he doesn't have the sort of winner vibe that he had as he entered the primary?
Well, there's still 3.5 months or so, a little bit more than that, until the first round of voting in the Iowa caucuses. So theoretically, DeSantis or any of the other candidates do have some time to turn it around. The problem he faces, though, is donors may not want to contribute to his campaign. Who wants to give to a loser, after all? And they may see some of these other candidates rising, like Chris Christie, the former New Jersey governor, is, according to one or two polls, up to second or third place in New Hampshire. Vivek Ramaswamy is rising. Some of the other ones, too, maybe Nikki Haley. So they may be getting a second look before Ron DeSantis does.
Let's talk a little bit about Vivek Ramaswamy. It's just sort of still surprising to people that, some polls show him in second place behind Donald Trump. Why?
Well, I'll say this for Mr. Ramaswamy. Agree with him or not on the issues, he goes on every interview request that comes his way. Whether it's a network television, appearance, Meet the Press, exactly, or the smallest podcast that most people have never heard of. And I give him a lot of credit for that, and because he's willing to give his ideas. He has enough money on his own; he could probably buy his own advertisements. But you compare that to some of these other candidates who really try to make it a big deal. They try to negotiate what they're going on. I remember radio show host Hugh Hewitt was saying that Tim Scott, the senator from South Carolina, was supposed to go on his show, and then he backed out. And he was like, the guy really needs the publicity. Like, why would you do that?
Right.
So I give Ramaswamy credit for that, willing to go on. It's actually what Donald Trump, the candidate, did in 2015-16, up until about February of that year. He would talk to anybody. Then things changed. But at least for now, kudos to him.
And finally, Trump's already announced he's not going to the second debate.
Right.
Didn't seem to really hurt him much that he didn't go to the first one.
Right.
Do you think he'll skip the third, the fourth? I mean, is he just figured out he doesn't need it?
There's every reason to think so. If you're him, again, like him or not, just strategically, it really makes no sense for him to go to the debates. He's clearly not going to the second one. He's hinted pretty strongly he's not going to be at the third one in November, the details of which are still kind of being negotiated. But yeah, why would he get on stage with, if these folks are even around then, Doug Burgum, the North Dakota governor, or former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, or some of these other characters? Like, why in the world would you do that? Basically, Trump is trying to say, I'm the nominee. I'm going up against Joe Biden.
Well, David, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
You can get more writing from David and the rest of the political team at washingtonexaminer.com.